Hi, I'm attorney Pressley Henningsen with RSH Legal. There are a variety of ways that someone's negligence can result in a traumatic brain injury for you or a loved one. Some folks think a traumatic brain injury means you have to have a broken skull or have to have been completely knocked out, which may be true, but there are other less recognized traumatic brain injuries as well. Here at RSH Legal, dozens of Iowans with TBIs contact our office each year about negligence that caused their brain injury without a skull fracture. That's because one of the most common causes of traumatic brain injuries is a vehicle collision, whether a big rig, a car, or a motorcycle. If you're involved in an accident, it's not unusual to hit your head against a window, the steering wheel, or even the dashboard during impact. But you don't need to hit your head to suffer a TBI. If you were jolted or violently shaken during your crash, you may have suffered a head injury, even if you were not knocked out cold. If you're experiencing the following symptoms after your crash, see a doctor as soon as possible, such as confusion or disorientation, headaches, sensitivity to light or sound, or ringing in the ears, also known as tinnitus. These are all symptoms of a traumatic brain injury, and you should be evaluated by a doctor. Even suffering a concussion is considered a mild traumatic brain injury by experts and should be treated as such. But remember, a mild TBI can have a massive impact on your daily life, so take it seriously. We also see a lot of head injuries in nursing home neglect situations, and we all rely upon nursing homes in those situations to care for our loved ones. But all too often, staff does not have the time or the resources to meet the residents' needs. Residents in nursing homes often have care plans that state they require assistance when they're moving about or going to the restroom. These care plans can be forgotten or disregarded because staff is simply too busy attending to some other residents' needs. This is the management's fault. They have to provide sufficient staff to meet everyone's needs. Even if care plans are followed though, residents can be in danger due to environmental hazards such as a slippery floor or maybe even bad lighting. This negligence can lead to serious injuries, including traumatic brain injuries, if a resident falls or otherwise hits their head, especially if that resident is on a blood thinner. If you have concern about the staffing numbers at the nursing home you visit, speak up. Tell the administrator or the director of nursing that they need more staff. Sometimes medical malpractice itself results in brain injuries. There are a variety of ways that brain injuries can occur because of medical negligence. Preventable errors that result in a brain injury due to lack of oxygen, called hypoxia. These can include delay in labor or delivery during the birthing process, resulting in a brain injury to a newborn. Sometimes there's too much or too little anesthesia during or after a medical procedure. Sometimes folks improperly place a breathing tube, or they fail to monitor someone's oxygen levels after a surgery. You can also suffer a brain injury at work. One of the most common ways to suffer a traumatic brain injury at work is by falling, either from a ladder, a stool, really any raised surface, or while on a slippery surface. Being struck by a falling object or having some other accident in a work vehicle, those are all ways that TBIs happen on the job. Regardless of how your work injury happens, you may be able to get Iowa workers' compensation benefits while recovering from your brain injury. But to protect your claim, you got to tell your employer within 90 days of your injury that you believe you suffered a traumatic brain injury at work. If you do not inform your employer within this 90-day notice time frame, you may lose out on your work comp benefits. Now, I grew up in a culture of rub some dirt on it, it'll heal. And we often overlook the symptoms of mild traumatic brain injury because our bell just got rung. We'll get over it. Sometimes you don't, and you have to deal with it correctly from the get-go, just in case. So take any head injury seriously. If you or a loved one suffered a traumatic brain injury due to the fault of someone else, we may be able to help. Call RSH Legal today, 1-800-433-0283. RSH Legal, fighting for fairness.